Rachel Corrie is a hero, in my opinion. An American activist who was run over and killed by an Israeli bulldozer who was tearing down homes. Israelis dispute how it was that Rachel came to die. So Rachel's become a hero, a non-Muslim hero in a Muslim country. There's a street named after Rachel Corrie. That is not what has the West and Israel all riled up. Dalal Maghrabi was going to have a square named after her until Palestinian authorities canceled the ceremony. 32 years ago this month, 19-year-old Dalal Maghrabi led a team of 12 heavily armed Palestinian militants from Lebanon into northern Israel. They carried out the coastal massacre, the deadliest terrorist attack in the history of Israel. In this attack, 38 civilians were killed, including 13 children. Dalal's sister is handing out chocolates with her picture on it. She's a hero. Israeli writer Gershom Gorenberg witnesses the picture of Dalal on a piece of chocolate. That's what a hero she is. She's on chocolate. He says he's not shocked. It's not surprising, he says, but it bothers me in a deep way. And it bothers me in a deep way when I see this on either side of the conflict. You can go around Israel and find streets named after Jewish terrorists who carried out their actions before 1948. Gorenberg got to thinking about this during a visit to the coastal town of Akko. It's a mixed Jewish and Arab town. 2 streets there are named after members of the Irgun and Stern gang, 2 Jewish militant groups from the 1930s and 40s. Gorenberg says these individuals committed assassinations and were willing to kill innocent civilians for the nationalistic cause. So it is a two-way street. This article, by the way, I found where I find most of my good articles, NPR, National Public Radio. You can find them online, theworld.org. The title of this article, dated March 22nd, is What's in a Street Name? What I'm going to talk to you about is how it is that we can end up elevating brutal killers to the level of hero. It's a mindset that occurs, and it's not limited to Israelis or Palestinians. Matter of fact, also on NPR, I was listening as they interviewed the Oakland police chief, and he said he was talking to a group of citizens, African-American citizens, and they were talking about how 4 innocent police officers were murdered by a rapist. This guy was a rapist, and he murdered 4 innocent police officers. And one of the local African-American residents considered this man, this rapist murderer, a hero. How could a lot of African-American young men consider this rapist murderer a hero? They considered him a hero because he killed police officers. And in their mind, the police officers were an occupying army. And when you're dealing with an occupying army, your mindset can change. What is it that African Americans have grown to expect from white police officers and the white community in general? There were those recent riots in France, and it was Muslim youth burning cars and all that. And if you look about how it happened, a pizza delivery boy being chased by police officers, and he has an accident and dies, and a riot breaks out. The rioters were just completely in the wrong. But you have to understand the mindset of the rioters. We've had riots here in America. African Americans have gone on crazy race riots where they're burning businesses and attacking and killing white people. One of the riots that we had was based on a court decision where some police officers who were white were beating a black man named Rodney King, and it was caught on video. When those men were acquitted, riots broke out. We think they're crazy. White Americans think these blacks are crazy, but if we start looking into black history here in America, we had them as slaves. After the slavery was over, we didn't give them rights. We treated them like dogs. We hung them. We executed them. After the Civil War, many African Americans settled in Oklahoma because of employment opportunities from the oil fields. Around 1908, the community of Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, was established. The Daily Tulsa Star was an African American-owned newspaper. Businesses owned by African Americans flourished. Their communities were the best. Their schools were excellent. Greenwood was coined the Black Wall Street. However, because of jealousy, deceit, and discrimination, Greenwood was burned to the ground by white racists on June 1st, 1921. White people could not take it. So you wonder how many years of animosity have built up. A respectful, self-reliant black community was bombed from the air and lost about 6,000 people in a vicious race riot that ended an economic power base that may have spearheaded financial independence for the black race in America and beyond. The catalyst? The accusation that a black man raped a white woman. The woman in question never accused anyone of rape. To lynch nigger tonight. Tries to rape white girl in elevator. Headlines dominated the press. The headlines in 1921 were enough to seal the fate of Black Wall Street. No Black Wall Street. No rich niggers. No freedom, said the powerful and politically connected Sam Wells, the racist Grand Marshal of the Knights of Liberty. Blacks in America have come to learn not to trust whites in America. White America has been cruel to the African Americans, and finally when they get a leg up and an opportunity to better themselves, we crush them down out of fear that they are superior or will be superior or dominate over us or succeed while we're failing. Still today, if you're a black man driving a nice car, you will likely get pulled over by a police officer. At least that's the mindset, because this still permeates. So these things that happen are not in a vacuum. African Americans are twice as likely to be unemployed as white Americans. Black men are more likely to go to prison than to college. This is the legacy of what white America has done to black America. The events that caused the riot are the final straw on the camel's back that causes this pressure cooker to finally explode. That's what happens with riots, and anybody rioting anywhere usually has a good cause underneath. And it's a combination of oppression, mental abuse, low self-esteem, and one trigger event. So it's a trigger event that may or may not even be rooted in fact. The Muslims you hate that are causing problems in the street, these kids that are firebombing cars, they're not doing this in a vacuum. They are, like the African American, they have been conditioned. They have been conditioned by an environment that is thrust upon them. They're not working in a vacuum. So we have to look at, rather than saying, look how horrible these kids are, look how irrational they are, look at the stupid things they're doing. Let's look at what we're doing to them. Let's look at the environment that they have to work with. Because I happen to know a young Muslim man in Europe who is seeking psychological treatment because of low self-esteem, because he's been so brutalized by white militant thug bullies. So this is not happening in a vacuum. If we want to stop these riots, we have to help start nurturing these societies rather than destroying them when they start to succeed and making them feel like second-class citizens.
Flavor on America!